Hi, welcome to the small shed. This week hopefully we're getting the moon arch finished. I'll see you in a minute. Right, so having got the moon arch picked up in bits, assessed the damage and repaired it hopefully to a lasting standard, it's time to put a bit of finish on it and take it down to Weston-super-Mare-ish and get it erected in the back garden. So let's see how we get on with it. Right, that's the last of the arch sections done. I think they're all complete as far as I can. Time now to get on to finish, and I'm going to attack this with two things. Firstly, the finish that is wanted by my son-in-law, which matches existing stuff in the garden, and that's a Ronseal shed and fence preservative. The fact that it says to wash your brushes out in brush cleaner indicates it's probably a spirit base, which is good. And I'm going to give it a couple of coats of that, and then I'm going to give it a very light wipe over with the Osmo oil as well. And that sort of belt and braces, I think this should be fine anyway. This should give you many years of protection, but I really am anxious not to let any water get into these cracks again, because there are still some that you can hardly even see that I suspect if you left it waterlogged they would open up again. Quite thin, but hopefully that'll be an advantage for getting it into the joints, and we'll give it a couple of coats of this, I think. We'll see how we get on, but you can see it sort of wicking into the timber itself, so it does go into the timber rather than just stay on the surface, which is always good to help with the preservation of things. So everything's had 3 coats of the Cuprinol, and I'm just going to now give 1 coat of the Osmo UV protection oil, which I think will give the final belt and braces finish. It only needs to finish the skims, but I think any slight cracking or anything that's left will be sorted by that immediately. So we're just going to give it the lightest of rubs over. The brush going again. Just literally put a really thin layer on, and I think that will solve all of the remaining possible risks. Stuff goes a long way. I mean, I've done one of the benches, the community library, and the small table that I did out of this, and it's not used a third of the tin yet, so it is remarkable, although it sounds expensive at 20 odd pound a tin. It is pretty good. So having taken it down to Weston-super-Mare, went and paid a visit on the old original small shed. This is my old shed that has now become a tractor shed down there, and you can see from the holes in it that it probably wasn't quite up to being a workshop. And got all the bits out ready to put it all together. Now, to make sure that the feet went into the ground in exactly the right place and at exactly the right spacing, I took a piece of old plywood down with me and some CLS timber, and effectively I've just made almost like a template of the the position where the pegs have got to go in that hold this thing up, and then it meant once that was done I could just screw the galvanized feet in to that and then bash it into the ground, and they'll all be in the right position. Problem I've had in the past with fence post spikes and things is that you put them where you think they're going to be and they start and twist and end up not quite where you want them. And with something with fixed ends, I had to sort of make sure that we got it in the right place. As it turns out, because they're on virtually on sand there, you could almost have pushed these in by hand, I think, but it was important really just to get them roughly in the right place anyway, and we'd managed to do that. Son-in-law managed to get the position marked for where it had got to go, and then we just bashed the whole thing in to get the feet all in the right place. Then once that was sorted out, we could just unscrew the CLS timbers, lift them all out of the way. That left us in the right place. Then came the task of putting it all together. I tried to select some of these were slightly heavier than others, so I was trying to get the heavy ones down the bottom so that we get the weight as low as we could, and just select all the ones that fitted together best. Basically 2 pairs of rings with 6 segments in each one. They were screwed together, and then there was a spacer piece with bolts on either end that put the 2 rings about 300mm apart, something like that. Fairly simple job, no great difficulty in it.
I was still thinking that they were on the right way, but they can't be on any other way. I was thinking they needed to go that way. They can only go one way.
I think the biggest difficulty was trying to understand which way around the feet part went onto the base, because it was quite difficult to sort of get in my head how they'd all fit into the ground, but again, fairly straightforward once you got it laid out. That was it, just managed to put one of the rings up in position. Make sure we got the best side facing the house. Let's put a temporary support in while we were getting it fixed into the ground, and until we got the other part of the segment sorted out as well. Same again, Same job, everything went together okay. I think there was one joint that wasn't quite as perfect as I would have wanted, but a bit of selective moving around of the segments and you could get it to work well enough. You can see the old play tower in the background still surviving. One of the problems we've got is that it's pretty exposed, so there's likely to be problems with wind more than anything. That line of houses in the background is essentially the seafront, so it gets a fair amount of wind coming across, so we wanted to make sure it was all secure. I think subsequent to this my son-in-law's put a couple of stakes through in between the hoops down into the ground a bit deeper, just to make it a bit more stable, because I know we had trouble when we put the playhouse up the first time. It was blown over within a matter of a couple of days. I think we had to rebuild it. Spacers in, all the bolts done on one side, and then we had to hope it would all fit together, which, much to my surprise, it did. Health and safety at its best, standing on chairs, but really in a situation like that it doesn't matter what you do, because even if you put step ladders up, they're likely to sink into the ground a bit, but we've got it up anyway. Final fixing on the bottom, just to get the feet into the shoes in the right place, and once we'd got those screwed into the base shoes, the whole thing stiffened up quite a lot. Quick tidy up and move the plants back to where they are going to hopefully end up, and that's got the moon arch in, so that the rest of the garden can then start and be built around that as a focal point from the back of the house. But on the whole, quite happy that it seems to have turned out well. It seems to have repaired well, and best of all, it's once again basically recycled something that was pretty much scrap and got it back into a pretty much original condition. So reasonably pleased with that, with the outcome. Right, so that's got the moon arch put up, another little job out of the way, and hopefully it's saved several £100 in buying a new one by getting it refurbished and done up like that. So I hope the video is of interest. Look forward to seeing you next week. We'll try and do something different. Look forward to seeing you then. Bye!